Picture two coworkers, same company, same department. They've worked side by side for 22 years, attended the same staff meetings, received similar performance reviews, and earned salaries within $8,000 of each other their entire careers. At 67, the first coworker sends a retirement announcement email. He's leaving with $1.1 million in his 401k, a paid-off house, and a pension he never touched. He's booked a 2-month trip to Portugal. He tells you he's genuinely not worried about money for the first time in his adult life. The second coworker is still at her desk. She's 67 as well. She has $94,000 saved. Her mortgage has 9 years remaining. Her credit card balance has sat between $11,000 and $16,000 for the better part of a decade. She's doing the math on whether she can afford to retire at 72. Some nights, the math doesn't work even then. Same employer, same career trajectory, same earning history, outcomes separated by more than $1 million. This isn't a story about luck. It isn't about investing skill or market timing or inherited wealth. It's about decisions made across decades that seemed individually small and collectively became everything. And the uncomfortable truth is this: the second coworker situation is not the exception, it's the norm. According to the Federal Reserve's 2025 Survey of Consumer Finances, the median retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64 is $185,000. The 4% withdrawal rule suggests you can safely withdraw 4% annually without depleting your portfolio over 30 years. On $185,000, that's $7,400 per year, $617 per month. Combined with average Social Security of $1,976, the typical near retiree is looking at roughly $2,600 per month, $31,200 annually. The MIT Living Wage Calculator estimates a single adult needs between $38,000 and $52,000 annually for basic expenses, depending on the state. The numbers don't work. For most Americans, they don't come close. A 2025 Transamerica survey found that 40% of workers plan to work past 70. Not because they love working, because the math won't work any other way. This is the retirement crisis. It's not a future projection. It's a current reality. Today, I'm going to walk you through the specific reasons why most Americans will never retire comfortably. Not vague reasons. The exact mechanisms and default behaviors that create the gap between the two coworkers. Understanding them is the only way to avoid ending up on the wrong side of this divide. Reason 1. The savings rate is catastrophically low. The U.S. personal savings rate in December 2025 was 3.6%. Financial planners agree that retiring comfortably requires saving 15% to 20% of income. The gap between 3.6% and 15% is the difference between $185,000 of retirement and $1.1 million. Most people don't even know their savings rate. They know approximately what they contribute to their 401k. They don't know it as a percentage of gross income. Without a number, there's no feedback mechanism. A person contributing $200 per paycheck doesn't know if that's 4% or 12%. They feel like they're doing something, and that feeling substitutes for the actual calculation. An EBRI survey found that only 42% of workers have ever tried to calculate how much they need to retire. Less than half. This is where everything starts. The savings rate problem generates every other problem on this list. Reason 2. People start too late and underestimate what that costs. A 25-year-old who invests $5,000 per year at 8% has approximately $1.6 million by 65. That same person, starting at 35, ends up with $730,000. A 10-year delay costs $870,000 despite contributing the same amount each year. The 25-year-old put in $200,000 over 40 years. The 35-year-old put in $150,000 over 30 years. Time produced the $870,000 difference. Not effort, not skill. Time. A 2025 TIAA survey found the median age Americans open their first retirement account is 31. Many don't contribute meaningfully until their 40s. By then, the most powerful compounding years are gone. A 40-year-old starting from zero who saves aggressively can still build real wealth, but they will never build what a consistent 25-year-old saver builds. The years between 25 and 40 cannot be recovered. Reason 3. Most people interrupt their compounding at the worst moments. Americans made approximately $7.2 billion in early 401k withdrawals in 2024. A 35-year-old in the 22% bracket who withdraws $20,000 keeps roughly $13,600 after penalties and taxes. But that $20,000 left untouched from 35 to 65 would have grown to approximately $201,000 at 8% returns. They didn't lose $20,000. They lost $201,000. A 2025 Vanguard analysis found that 25% of retirement plan participants take a loan or withdrawal annually. 1 in 4, every year. Retirement accounts treated as emergency funds or lifestyle supplements rather than untouchable long-term wealth. The reasons are understandable. Medical bills, job loss, divorce, home repairs. But rating retirement accounts to solve short-term problems creates long-term problems that are mathematically harder to solve. Each interruption sets the compound clock back further than people realize. Reason 4. Healthcare costs are almost always underestimated. Fidelity estimates a 65-year-old couple needs approximately $330,000 to cover healthcare costs throughout retirement. That's on top of all other expenses. It doesn't include long-term care. Long-term care is a separate catastrophe. The national median cost for a private nursing home room is $108,405 per year. HHS estimates 70% of people turning 65 will need some form of long-term care, averaging 3 years. That's $190,000 to $325,000 in care costs. Medicare covers very little of this. Only 14% of Americans have purchased long-term care insurance. A retirement plan without healthcare costs isn't a real plan. It's a plan with a $330,000 to $650,000 hole. Reason 5. Social Security is misunderstood in ways that cost people significantly. Social Security was designed to supplement savings, not replace them. Most Americans treat it as their primary plan. The claiming age difference is enormous. Someone eligible for $2,000 at 67 can claim at 62 for $1,400, or wait until 70 for $2,480. That's $1,080 monthly difference. A 2025 Boston College analysis found 90% claim before 70. Roughly 40% claim at 62, despite this being optimal only for people with health concerns or immediate financial necessity. Someone who claims at 62 versus 70 and lives to 85 collects $120,000 to $180,000 less in total lifetime benefits. That difference requires no investment skill, just patience. Reason 6. Debt doesn't retire when you do. According to the Federal Reserve, 45% of Americans between 65 and 74 carry mortgage debt, with a median balance of $97,000. In 1989, less than 10% of households headed by someone 65 or older carried mortgage debt into retirement. By 2025, nearly half do. The shift is dramatic and largely underexamined. Carrying a mortgage into retirement isn't inherently catastrophic if income is sufficient. But for most retirees, it creates a fixed monthly obligation that their fixed income was never sized to absorb. Credit card debt among people 65 and older has grown faster than any other age group. These aren't reckless people. Many are covering medical expenses or helping adult children. But debt in retirement consumes the fixed income that retirement was designed to provide, shrinking the margin between surviving and living. Reason 7. Inflation erodes fixed income in ways people never visualize. Retirement planning often focuses on the accumulation phase, what the balance will be at 65, what monthly income that generates. The calculation almost always uses today's prices, and that's where it quietly breaks. At 3% annual inflation, prices double every 24 years. Someone retiring at 65 who lives to 89 will see today's prices double. Groceries at $600 monthly become $1,200. Utilities at $250 become $500. A fixed income that felt comfortable at 65 becomes inadequate by 80. The gap widens every year inflation exists, and inflation always exists. Social Security includes a COLA, but it historically lags real inflation. Private pensions typically have no inflation adjustment at all. A $2,000 monthly pension today is worth $1,000 in real purchasing power 24 years from now. Reason 8. Most people have no actual number. Ask the average American how much they need to retire. Most will guess. The calculation is simple. Estimate annual expenses and multiply by 25. Someone expecting $70,000 annually needs approximately $1.75 million. Without the specific target, saving has no destination. EBRI found that workers who calculate a target are twice as likely to feel confident about retirement. Most people never do the calculation because the number is large and the gap is alarming. But not knowing doesn't close the gap. It guarantees the gap stays open. What the people who retire comfortably actually do differently. The two coworkers weren't separated by income. They were separated by 3 behaviors practiced consistently across decades. The first coworker automated contributions before he saw the paycheck. The percentage crept up with every raise. He never adjusted to the full raise because part of it never appeared in his checking account. He wasn't more disciplined. He engineered his finances so discipline wasn't required. The second coworker always planned to save more. After the car was paid off, after the kids were through school, after the renovation. Each threshold arrived, and something else appeared ahead of it. The first coworker defined a number at 38, found he needed $1.4 million, saw he was $300,000 short, and increased his savings rate from 9% to 14%. He checked the trajectory at 48 and 55, still on track. The number gave him feedback that intentions never could. The first coworker never interrupted the compounding. When the roof needed replacing, he took a home equity line rather than withdrawing from his 401k. He understood that a $20,000 withdrawal at 40 cost him $200,000 at 65. None of this required exceptional income. One choice at a time, across 2 decades, outcomes diverged by more than $1 million. The retirement crisis isn't caused by low incomes. The average household income is approximately $80,600. That income, with a 15% savings rate starting at 30, builds meaningful retirement wealth by 65. Most Americans earn enough to retire comfortably. They just never do the things that make it happen. The savings rate stays at 3.6% because nobody automated a higher one. The compounding gets interrupted because there's no emergency fund. Healthcare costs go unplanned. Social Security claiming gets decided by default. Debt follows people into retirement because it was never systematically addressed. Every single one of these is a behavioral problem with a behavioral solution, not an income problem, not a market problem. The two coworkers will retire in entirely different realities because one did the math and built systems around it, and the other trusted things would work out. Things rarely work out. Math usually does. The median near retiree with $185,000 saved isn't in that position because life was unfair. They're in that position because nobody handed them this framing clearly and early enough. Because the behaviors that build retirement wealth are invisible while they're happening, and obvious only in retrospect when the options have narrowed. You can still be the first coworker, but only if you start now, not after the next raise, not after the car is paid off, now. The math works exactly as well today as it worked 30 years ago. The only variable is how much time you choose to give it. If this changed how you think about retirement, subscribe to Mark Invests. Every week, we break down the money decisions that actually move the needle. No fluff, no hype, no gatekeeping. Just the honest stuff that matters. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.